We're now
So,
live.
yes, we're now live. I just waited for it to load. And then when I see it,
You are good. You know how to use this thing? Like
it takes time,
Zoom for live Facebook? Like that's pretty impressive.
right? All right, so we're here. So let's record in 3, 2, 1. All right. Okay, another episode, The Things I Wish I Knew About Money. I'm your host, Camille Smith, and I have a lovely, lovely guest, Samantha Brookes. Oh man, how are you doing this evening?
I'm great. You know, you're so full of energy. I love it.
I'm trying. I'm still in the different environment, still a secret, but it's a different environment, but it's lovely, right?
That's great.
And what is it? It's episode 55. So I'm glad to have.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Hold on, let me. I know you don't know about the horn, but you're gonna be introduced to it. Don't worry. Don't
Like the
worry.
new horn. Sure. One of those blow horns.
Yeah, it's just like this. Huh?
Oh, yeah. Okay. I've heard it before.
Yes, yes, yes. So it's an honor for you to being on this live because what it was, and I know we were talking offline, and we have horrible memory, but it's okay. We met through Black Moms Connection,
Yes.
and I remember when we were just about to like go on stage, and I was nervous. I was like, I'm so nervous, and you're like, stop. You got this, okay? Just we're gonna go on the stage and we're gonna do amazing and all that great stuff. And till this day, it's been like programmed in my mind. I'm like, all right, I got this. So like every time I see you or just think of when I get nervous, I think of that time and I'm just like, no, I got this. Like I know what I'm talking about.
That's right. That's exactly it. You know exactly what you're doing. I mean, you make money doing it. So what are you afraid of?
Exactly.
Right? I'm just like, Camille, come on now. You got this. Let's go. I remember that. I do remember. And I looked you dead in the eye and you were like, you were shaking and then you just like stopped and you looked at me like, oh, that's right. I got this. You're like, okay, let's go.
Yeah, so it was really lovely. It was really lovely. And I think you have a photo of that too, right?
Yes, we do. Yes, there's yes. Someone took the picture, right? I can't remember.
Yes. You had a camera lady. I wish I remember her name at this point.
I think Trudy. I think her name
Yes, Trudy, yes. So big her up too. Hey.
Trudy.
But yeah, it was just an honor for you to be here. And literally it was like spirit of the moment type of thing. And I just want people to see the queen of mortgages. So please tell the fans, tell the listeners and all the viewers, who's Samantha Brookes?
I'm just Samantha. Oh, I don't know. People want to put me on this pedestal, but honestly, I'm not. I'm just Samantha. I'm a mortgage broker.
Mm-hmm.
I own a company.
It's so big.
We've become very successful in growing the business, and I think that just has to come down to most of the people that I hire are passionate about what they do and helping other people, and it's just one of those things, right? So
yeah.
I was fortunate enough to be on many media platforms talking across the country about real estate and mortgages, and becoming the real estate expert for 1 year. I think it was 2017. But yeah, I had to put that on hold temporarily as I'm going through life transition. And but getting back to that, I will be getting back to that very soon. Currently right now interviewing for that, for some new publicists. So we will see. Yes. So so Samantha Brookes, I'll tell you who I am. I just told you a little bit. But I'll tell you why I got started into mortgages.
That's good. Yes,
I'll tell you why I got started, because a lot of people want to know, like, how did all of this happen? Well, many moons ago, when I was in my early 20s, I was actually a victim of identity theft. And I didn't understand it back then. Yes, I didn't understand how credit worked, and how someone could actually falsify my name or have my information, my personal information, and then use somebody else's face on an ID and be able to get credit. Like, I just didn't understand all of that.
Crazy.
No one taught me that growing up in high school. My parents never taught me that. No one taught me anything about money or real estate or anything. I just didn't know anything. So during that time, I actually just committed to finding out about everything that had to do with credit. And one of the areas that I found was real estate. And when I found out that you need a mortgage to purchase real estate, then I was really intrigued by the whole mortgage aspect of it, because I'm like, okay, my credit is now gone because this person did this identity theft under my name. So they racked up all this credit, and I had to file a consumer proposal at the time. And because of that, my credit was like low. And so I said, I want to be able to help other people who either run into situations like this or who have bad credit, who, life has happened to them, and help them to rebuild so that they can then move into their purpose of becoming a homeowner. So I would prefer to do the money part, because that's the hardest part. And because, I failed grade 10 math, so don't judge me.
No worries. No judgment here.
Grade 10 math, so don't judge me. But I'm good with numbers. And it's really, really weird. Teach me how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide, and that's all I needed to do. I didn't need to do anything else. So I'm good with those numbers and understanding those processes. My bed mass, that whole formula, I was the queen at it, okay? So that's all I needed to know for mortgages and following steps. That's it. So I'm really good with numbers, and I just decided to go into that industry. And I started looking for a mentor, and I found someone to help me out, to teach me how to go through the process of doing mortgages. And I've been doing it since I would say about 23. Yeah. So it's been quite, or 22, sorry. I started at 22. Yes, I started at 22. And it's been a long time. It'll be 20 years. It'll be 20 years in 2022.
Wow. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
You know what? I'm glad you mentioned that, because like the reasoning why you started, because identity theft is serious. And I think a lot of individuals don't realize how serious it is when it comes to like watching who you show your stuff to, or co-signing and all that stuff, and just being nonchalant, and maybe the saving your information on the websites. It's really serious, because I know like in our 20s, we can kind of build it back up, but if it was in our 30s, 40s, and so on, it's really a crucial time to be like damaging your credit. So I'm glad you learned it then and was able to. I know it's a hard lesson to learn, but like it helps you grow into the woman you are. So you're able to, and that helped you switch in helping others, and even telling your story so people will know, and hopefully they're like, ooh, maybe I won't give my credit card to everyone I know.
I know. And the thing is, it wasn't even about me giving my credit card. It was actually someone I knew was actually somebody that I knew that actually, and knew where I lived. You know, they obviously had my first name, last name, my postal code. You know, you don't need somebody's social insurance number to use it on credit, like, you know, applying for credit. You don't need that. And back then it wasn't as prevalent as it is now. I mean, now there's so many different technologies in place with the banks to help stop fraud. If they see irregular transactions, they'll actually intervene or send you a text message or give you a call from the fraud department. So there's things like that, but back then they didn't have that. And so things were happening. I mean, I had to go through it, and I was like in my early 20s. I knew absolutely nothing. So it was a huge learning lesson. It was definitely worth it because it changed my life, and I am where I am today because I followed that path of trying to help people, and I want to continue to do that. That is my passion. I love what I do.
Nice. And when it comes to mortgages, what's the a little breakdown that people need to know about when it comes to mortgages? Because I know a lot of people have been asking, they're like, yo, Camille, you gotta talk about mortgages. I'm like, I'm trying. Everything comes into steps, right? Like you have to learn certain things.
Camille, there's so much that goes into a mortgage transaction, but even just the homeowner or the purchaser to be able to purchase the property, that is difficult. Like, I mean, it's not difficult. It depends on who's actually going through it, but it can be tricky depending on credit, because your credit is really important. That's the first thing, right?
Yes.
You gotta have good credit. And even if you don't have good credit, that doesn't mean you can't buy a house. I always tell people that, well, that's okay if you don't have good credit. It's just that you have to go through different parameters in order for you to qualify, which means that you're gonna have to come up with more of a down payment. So if you have good credit, so typically 600 plus or 620 plus, you can do 5% down payment, right? And 5% isn't that
hear
much.
that, folks? if it's about 650 and above, then you can do it, like with 5%. And you know what just annoys me is, and I know I sent you a post this morning, is I shouldn't say annoying, but like we get bombarded with all the stuff in the States, like their deals, like the 3 to 5%. And I feel like there's nothing like that in Canada.
We definitely don't have the 3%. There are a lot more options in the US for sure. You know, they have their FHA loans and everything else where you can do like your 3% down. If you're buying something rural in the US, you don't even need a down payment. They go over 100% loan to value. So, I mean, there's just different programs that they have there. Here, it's much different. Our banking system is a little bit more secure. So when people say, you know, there's going to be a bubble, there could still be a bubble just because, you know, with the interest rates going up in the next year, that limits people's cash flow availability. And so things become more tight, and therefore prices would have to start adjusting to accordingly. Accordingly, just based on the market. So we won't get into all that because that's just so messy. But you know, that is just messy to discuss right now.
Yeah, we want to get to the juicy part, right?
We want to get to the juicy part of
the money, love, money, relationships, and mortgages. Because I sent out a question, and people were probably like, "What type of question are you asking, Camille?" I was like, I'm not trying to make anyone become separated or divorced, but it does happen, right? And I believe we were discussing like, what are the experiences that you find when people are like in a relationship and they're getting a house and then things happen.
Well, let's back it up a little bit.
Yes.
Let's back it up just a bit. Because when you're single and if you have a good income and you have your 5% down, you can purchase a house. You're not having to discuss this with anyone. Okay. So anything that you're looking at, this is your decision. You have your own independent making. You buy a house, it's yours. Okay. So let's just say that now you are in a committed relationship, but you're not actually married. You can go and buy a house with someone, no problem, because what happens is you have more borrowing power. However, if that relationship then breaks down, and it's time to sell it, it can get a little complicated. So what I always tell people is, you know, who you are in a relationship with or who you decide to marry is going to affect how much like your income is or how wealthy you become, right? Because some women, when you're in a relationship, a lot of women mentally get drained. I mean, men do too, but sometimes, like most times in relationships, men are the ones who are in control, right? And so sometimes they can bully you out of the money. They can be wrong, and I've seen that a lot. But there are some women that come out ahead, which is also fine. It just depends, right? Usually, if you have a good lawyer, you're good. Now, if you are in a committed relationship, really, it's just about having a cohabitation agreement, right? So, and a lot of people don't know about that. They can be slightly expensive. However, you can go online and find a template. I do know that there's a template on a couple of these law websites that you can like download, kind of edit them to kind of fit what you need to do just to protect yourself, get it notarized, and everybody has a copy of it. That way there's no arguing at the end if the relationship doesn't last. So this just keeps everything nice and clean, right? And I feel like that's really important because we just never know what the future holds. And you know, people get married not anticipating to get divorced, but it happens. You know, life happens sometimes, right? People make mistakes or people grow apart or whatever it is, right? So you know, who knows? And so people are no longer in agreement and they just can't do it anymore. And everything falls apart. So if you're just in a relationship, make sure you have a cohabitation agreement.
So is that kind of, question, is that kind of like like a prenup?
Oh yes, but it's when you just live together. So you're in a committed relationship, but let's just even say like you have a home and you have somebody who you're bringing in. The home is yours, right? So you want to make sure that that person knows that this home is yours. And if you want to split something with them, if something goes sideways later, you're able to do that. And it's based on a certain amount. Like everything is agreed upon in the contract. Like it's a contract, right? And it's, I mean, I'm going to say this, but it's a little unprofessional, but it kind of sucks, right? That you have to kind of think like that. But at the end of the day,
you got to protect yourself.
You got to protect yourself no matter what, because if you don't, you're going to run into a lot of problems later. Could run into a lot of problems. Sometimes people just walk away and it's okay. They give everybody splits and they just go their own way. No bitterness, just, you know, but other times they're, you know, people are fighting for a very long time. So you just want to be able to, you know, have a cohabitation agreement in place. Same thing if you're married, and I shouldn't be pushing prenups because I am a Christian, but I still believe in them. Just because, you know, I've gone through, or I'm going through my own challenges right now with my transition, and I know that had there been a prenup in order, even though I know they can be broken, you have to somewhat stay within certain parameters in order for it to be for it to make sense, right? So you know, choosing the right partner, I think this is where choosing the right partner is really
that's like a whole big episode right there.
Yes, because you see what happens here we go again, right? So sometimes what happens is you know, the person that you marry has bad credit, right? And if you're not like me, who asks right up front on the first date, you know, you can get sidetracked. You know, things could just kind of hit you later, right? You know, first question before we go on the date: how's your credit? Right?
How's the credit?
How's the credit?
How much debt do you have?
Hey, you know what though? I can't really look at people's debt if they're self-employed, though, because some people who are self-employed do carry debt. There's a reason for it, right? I have debt. I have debt. I own a business, right? So it's not unmanageable. It's fine. It's when it becomes unmanageable, right? So, but yeah, just, you know, right, it's key. And you do need debt because debt is good. People don't realize that is actually good because it helps to build your credit. And when you have good credit, you can borrow more money.
Right? Leverage.
Right? Leverage. So, I mean, there's so much, I'm just talking so much right now, but yes, you just want to make sure that whoever you choose to marry is the right person. Also, I want to also mention that, you know, not having the right person in your life can also like mentally bombard you with a whole bunch of other things when you're trying to reach a goal. So if the individual isn't like your rock or supporting you, and they're trying to tear you down, or you know, trying to do things behind your back and just being very toxic or whatever, and your mind isn't into what you're trying to build, and if you got everything together, then it also can make everything fall apart. So because remember, life is about growth.
Yep. Growth.
There's three things in life that never change. We're born, time always moves, and growth. We're always growing. Right?
That is true. I say that like all the time. We're always growing. We're learning something new every day.
Even if you don't think about it, you are. So growth is really important. If you're trying to grow in a certain area, so whether it be through business or financial or just real estate portfolio or just anything, or just even getting your education, and you don't have that right partner beside you, and your mind isn't focused on what your true end goals are, or you know, where you're trying to reach, then you get sidetracked. And it's, you know, it's okay because we're learning along the way.
Yeah.
For things that we shouldn't do a second time around, right? So sometimes it stops us in our track. We either have to take a different road to get to the same destination, or we stop on our track. We're learning, getting all the information necessary, and then we go again, kind of jump over the hurdle, and then you keep moving, right? So there's just so much to that. And I just, like I said, it's really, really important to have the right partner in your life.
That is true, because I think I always look at others, like first, obviously, example I had was my parents, and to me it was perfect, right? So, and then I see others and I'm like, I want to be like them, but I can't be like them because their generation is different. I don't want to be like them, but I you know, merging both is good. And I know when it comes to like having the right partner, the rock, like having someone help you strive is key, and all that good stuff. So,
and vice versa.
Yes, and it takes two to tango. It's two-way street. So that's very important for people listening. Be sure to be the rock and have the rock when it comes to your finances, because that can hinder you or progress you and all that good stuff. And especially when it comes to, like, I'm thinking having the buying power to get a place is really, especially in Toronto, is really, really important. Like,
it's difficult. And that's the reason why, like, and you don't want to rush into a relationship. But like I said, if you're single and you make really good money and you're able to do it on your own, then that's fine. But you know, having the additional person, having the partner with you to be able to buy a property together, even if you split and you split the equity afterwards, you're still left with something rather than nothing.
Still winning.
So I mean, at the end of the day. So as long as the agreement makes sense, right? For these cohabitation.
The agreement have to make sense.
So everybody is supposed to be okay at the end of it. If you didn't put anything in, but you're still getting a little bit at the end, I think you should be all right. But yeah, so you know, just doing the right thing and just being a good person. You just got to be a good person, right? That's the thing. I'm just like, just be good.
Yeah.
People just
if you can't be good, just be single. And learn and grow and heal whatever you have to heal, right? What else did I think there was, because you basically said one of the things you learned from it wasn't your mistake, it was someone else's mistake, but was there any like particular lessons that you've learned from even others, or parents, about mortgages or finance and all that good stuff?
Oh, I'm gonna tell you one. Okay, first I'm gonna tell you my biggest lesson that I learned, and I learned it. It's funny. I didn't learn it when I was working. I learned it once I became self-employed. Really weird. I started noticing something about one of the traits that I had that were kind of like self-sabotaging. But anyways, so I'll tell you about it. I used to, because I knew I would be getting, like I get my commission. So I would spend the commission before it would come. Not all of it, but I'd spend a portion of it. I'm like, why am I doing this, right? Because sometimes in my business, it is so unpredictable. Sometimes transactions do not close for reasons of the lender or the client, or people pass away, like just anything, right? So you can't put the cart before the horse. I was doing that, and I'm like, girl, what you doing? And when I started realizing that I was doing that, and then sometimes transactions were closing, then I was like, oh, what did I do? Right. So then that was a big aha. Sam, we're gonna fix that real quick. So I got jumped all over that. I don't do that anymore at all. So that was a big lesson. Okay. So never spend before you have the money.
Especially for self-employed folks. Sometimes if you have retainer payments, great. But if you don't, that's when it gets tricky.
You become so comfortable when you're an employee. Right? You become so comfortable when you're an employee because you always know that money is going to be there. So you spend it because you know it's going to see, and that mentality carried over into business ownership. And then I was like, wait a minute, no, that it doesn't work the same here. It doesn't work the same. You have to change. So when you become a business owner or you're self-employed, there's a lot of growth to happen real quick because you can fall apart so fast. I was just really fortunate that I had a good reserve account, so I was able to manage. That's a big thing. But anyways, we won't talk about all that. That's just too much. Girl, I could go on all night about business, trust me, but we're gonna keep it moving. So that
means you're just gonna have to come back.
Yeah. That was the biggest lesson for me. The second thing I wanted to discuss was how I've seen this, like quite a few times actually. I've seen people that are in a relationship and the relationship dissolves or marriage dissolves, and they immediately sell the house. Okay, no problem. So then everybody gets their money, and it's usually, well, no, it could be both people. But what I've seen from the female side is they'll have this lump sum of money. They do nothing with it. So they think they're gonna rent for a year and then buy a house after that. And in every scenario
that you
that's
see
happened, I have seen so far, not one of them has been successful in buying a house later. And the reason being is, especially because we're here in Canada, house prices are going up so fast that your down payment requirement continues to increase. One. Two, if the prices continue to go up, your income needs to also
go up as well.
And you're on a one-person income.
So with that scenarios, you said it's a lot.
I've seen it quite a few,
What's the best option?
Yeah. So what I tell everyone, every single person, and no one listened to me yet. So I'm going to tell you guys that if you don't want to listen to me, it's on you. And it's a lesson that you just have to learn. But know that it's one of those things where somebody who has experience knows that you may not be as experienced and you're not listening. It's like sitting with Warren Buffett and he's giving you advice and you're not listening.
Yeah. And he make money.
Okay, I'm not going to say I'm a gazillionaire.
Yeah. But
I know money. I know money. Okay, I see it every day. I know what's going on. I know how to deal with it. And if I'm telling you, you sold your house, you have money, go buy another house.
And it's Especially because they at least have the down payment.
You have the down payment. And the thing is, even if your credit isn't good at that time, who cares? You do 20%. And even if you buy slightly outside the city, who cares? You still have 20%.
Yeah.
And at least the money is tucked away. It's secured against the property that if something should happen in the future, even if it be a year or 2 or 3, even 4 years, you could at least sell that property and you're still going to have you should have your down payment that you originally put in, plus the increased equity. Now, if you take that money and you put it in your bank, you're going to rent, you're only making your landlord rich. You're spending your money. It's not growing. And after the year you've went on 5 vacations for no reason. And then you have nothing left because you didn't secure it against anything. And there's just no discipline. It's the discipline that is lacking. That's the reason why these people end up with nothing in the end. And in what I've seen is that these, again, it's all women. These poor women have had to move multiple times. Yeah. And I feel so bad for them, but they've had to move multiple times in like the last couple of years because they didn't buy the house. And so now their children become unstable.
Because they're moving.
Because the land, remember, once you don't own the home, you are no longer in control of the home. So therefore, the landlord controls you. So if the landlord wants to list, you got to go. If the other landlord doesn't want to assume you, you got to go.
Yeah, that's true. So,
right?
I'm hoping to the listeners that are listening and watching, like with things like that, talk to Samantha and get a house.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do too many one-on-ones anymore. I'm just far too busy. I was telling you, I don't even do these podcast things anymore.
I was fortunate.
I really just don't. I do not have time, which is fine. And I'm, one day. Anyways, we'll get another. So I just don't have time anymore. So yes. Okay, so let's go on to the next question, Camille.
But no worries, like that's like that's a tough one. And I know when we're not gonna only say that it happens to women, because obviously there are men that are left in the dust as well. So I want to be fair. I like to be fair, but I do women first. Always.
We're the nurturers, right? So sometimes we do get the bad end of the stick, but sometimes we don't. Depends. If we're alpha females, we can usually hold our own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The alpha or omega or gammas. I've been hearing
Yeah.
But like a situation like that, I hope people are able to take heed and take advantage of the equity or capital that you have and be able to find another property or even invest if you want to, so it can double up in different ways. And let's see, so that was one lesson that you learned from others and then yourself. And what about, let's say, how about from I know your folks, and I think we've all I've come to realize that bless our parents and our grandparents, because they did the best they could, right? But obviously financial literacy wasn't on our forefront because it was all about survival. But hopefully we're able to show them as well that it's not all about survival, but we can build generational wealth and all that great stuff. Is there a lesson that you learned from your folks that showed like, oh, this I definitely have to fix and just like break the curse, if anything, even if it's not a curse, but just give more awareness to your family.
Yeah, I mean, my parents came here. They were first-time immigrants to Canada from Jamaica. And they didn't
Yeah.
have a lot. They were young when they, I know. Okay. Still got that hood in me, you know what I mean?
No worries, no worries.
Get that lips out somehow. Anyway. Okay, so my parents, they you know, first generation Jamaican, and they didn't have a lot. They started their family very young, so it was hard growing up. We lived in poverty. You know, we lived in housing. My mom ended up being a single mom after a few years, and you know, we used to shop at like secondhand stores, and I could never go in them. I mean, my cousins would go, and I would step in
Don't
the
knock
store.
them.
You know, and there's nothing wrong with them. Like, I get it. I get it. That some people have to go there. I personally I couldn't do it. And I always knew that I was different just mentally, because there's certain things I was just like, no, I will not fall prey to this. So my mom, she worked very hard. Single mom, to provide for us. You know, she'd go to food banks and whatever, and make sure we always had food on the table. At least our clothes were clean, right? So, but at the end of the day, the lesson was create your own. Do not rely on other people.
Create your own. You know, I have to take notes when you talk, eh?
Because if you were gone tomorrow, they would put that job posting up in less than 24 hours.
True. Very, very true.
Yeah. So you really hold no value in any company. It's a business.
Create your own.
You gotta create your own opportunities. Don't rely on other people to create them for you. You got to do everything yourself. And you can obviously ask for help along the way. I have my Rolodex isn't big, but it's deep. Okay. It's not big, but it's deep. So, use who you can for their information to help you get where you need to be, and so that you could obtain your goals. Really important. Just create your own.
And I know you have a mentor, so that's also important, like seeking help and learning more, so you're able to create your own. Because I know a lot of people may say like, well, how am I supposed to create my own if I'm stuck in this situation? Like we said before, growth.
You know what? It's not even just that. I'll tell you what can change your entire life. I'm going to tell you what can change your entire life. You start meditating. You start meditating, really taking it in internally. You got to meditate. I'm Christian. I read my Bible. There's a higher power for sure. And I know this for a fact. Okay. You start meditating and focusing internally on yourself, on that internal growth, your whole life will change. Because now you start manifesting things that you didn't think were possible. And you don't even know how things are happening. But things start creating this new possibility for you because you're working on yourself internally. And then you also gain the strength. So you become this whole physical being of abundance within that starts to come out. You want to change your life? Start meditating. I do it very early in the morning. So, and whenever I start falling off, I start noticing things start changing. I have to jump back on real quick. I'm like, what's going wrong? It's like, get back to your meditation, right? So that's how you do it. I didn't know I was going to end up where I am. I didn't know I was going to be a business owner. I didn't know I was going to make this type of income. I didn't know. I just didn't know.
You had your faith. And you had faith.
I trusted myself and I started meditating.
Yes.
Focusing on internally, and now here I am, right?
Nice. I like that. And that's a lot of, you've given a lot of advice today. I loved it. I love it. I think I already asked the question. What are the three things you wish you knew about personal finance?
Okay, so this is such an important question because There's way more than 3 things. But for me, my top 3 are lessons or things that I wish I had known earlier that I didn't. And when I mean earlier, I mean like in my early 20s, or like, even when I was a teenager, if I had known more about money back then, but I didn't because I wasn't privy to it due to my family situation. But I learned now, so that's fine. But these are things I wish I had known when I was younger. So, create a spending plan and a budget so that you can actually create cash flow. Sometimes what that looks like is an extra job. So at one point I had 4 jobs so I could save money.
Yeah.
Because the cost of living was so high, right?
Especially in Toronto.
Sometimes you have to sacrifice your sleep in order for you to get where you need to be. But if you're too comfortable, that means you're not making those sacrifices. Believe me, comfort is dangerous.
Yes.
Being comfortable is dangerous. There's no growth in comfort.
So I'm just taking it in. Jeez.
Yeah, there's no growth in comfort. So that's really important. That was the first one. The second one is you have to prepare for your future. If you're not preparing for your future, how do you know how much you're going to need? What is it what does your future look like? Do you know that like 80% of us probably will not be able to retire?
Yeah, especially with the automation. Like I've been noticing it like everywhere. I seen it in Food Basics and I was like, there's self-checkout at Food Basics?
Everywhere. And it's going to become even worse. There's like vending machines on streets now where you can go buy a pizza out of a vending machine.
Yes. Yeah.
So trying to make people obsolete. Where are you going to get your job from? Where do you get your income from? Now you have to rely on the government, right? So if you don't prepare for your future, what direction are you going?
Exactly.
A man who doesn't have a plan falls for anything. Comes lost. You don't want to get lost. You have to know what direction you're going. You wake up every morning. What are you doing?
What are you doing to prepare for your future? I think about it every day.
Yeah, it's funny because we same here. I'm like, okay, how much money do I need to retire? Like, how much cash flow do I need? Like, is it going to be enough? I'm like, okay, my business makes this much. It's so much cash flow I have. This is what I have for my expenses. I need more.
Yeah.
I need more if I'm going to retire. Right now, I'm just comfortable. But it's not enough for me to say in 30 or 40 years from now that I'm going to be able to retire because of the rate of inflation. I know this.
Yeah.
So I need to increase my income. How do I do that? I need to have different income streams, right? So you have to have multiple income streams in order for you to be able to do that.
Yeah.
You got to plan.
Multiple income streams is so necessary now that
especially in Canada.
Especially here. Oh my gosh. Like people keep laughing. Like, I don't know if you've seen this meme about Steve Harvey. Like, oh, I just made $1.63 in my dividends. And he's just like, how he's always sharp and stuff. I'm like, heck yeah. Dividends income actually counts, especially with the banks giving you pennies. I know pennies. The banks are not your friends, but they'll help you get the mortgage or leverage certain things, but they're not your friends. But that's just me. That's what I always say, right?
I can't say anything. I'm a mortgage broker.
I know. So Samantha isn't saying it. I'm saying it. But it's just we have to, So create your own, prepare for the future, multiple streams of income. Was that the third one? Or was that?
No, the third one is make sure you do your research before you make any major financial decisions to purchase. Very, very, very important, especially when your house, you're buying a home. How are you not doing research? Like I'm always stunned when people say, "Oh, I put down a deposit and I gave them $50,000. Did you get pre-approved? No. Are you working? No. I just started last year. Do you have 2 years notice of assessment? No, I just came out of school. Okay, what do you take? Like what's going on here? What's your credit like? Have you done anything at all? You have done no research and you went firm on this property and you're trying to buy it $100,000 over asking because you got emotional because it looked nice inside." I'm like, okay.
That's not
good.
Good.
Potentially you're going to lose that $50,000.
Yeah.
Unless you can find some people who can go on title with you, right? So it's always about making sure that you do enough research and you have an understanding. You don't have to be an expert at it, but have basic understanding. Do your research online, read and comprehend. Don't just read to be skimming. Read and comprehend, make a few calls. Don't listen to your friends and your family, please. They are not the professionals in this. Even if they've already purchased 1 or 2 homes, they do not know the process that goes on in the back end. If people only knew what it took to actually close out a mortgage transaction, you would never, ever, ever try a house without doing the research.
Yeah.
Because even then you have to jump through hoops. There's so much red tape. There's so much policies, and they change like this. You think you know, and then we think we know, and by tomorrow it's changed.
Jeez. So it's good to have like a checklist while you're doing your research.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what I would do.
Just take notes.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, this is, and then yes and no, like it's don't listen to your family and friends, but like just ask them for like, so did you, just like a no, just like that. Just don't do it. This is what I love about you, because you're just saying like, no.
I don't have time. Because then you're gonna come in and try to argue with me, but I'm here doing this for the last 20 years. Like, come on. And you know what? I'll be very honest with you. I mean, as much as I love what I do,
yeah,
if you know more than me, then I'm like, I can't help you. I literally will tell people that I can't help them. Unfortunately, I can't help you. And I don't care. And I mean, yes, okay, I may be losing commission because I'm not, but you know what? If you know more than me, even to have a working relationship, you know more than me. I don't have time for the headache. See, I have great hair. I ain't got time. You have people that are willing to listen because you're going to lead them down the right path to make sure everything hopefully works out okay. But if you're trying to create conflict, then that's the type of personality that I can't work with anyways. And neither does my office want to work with either. We don't have time. We're too busy. We don't have time. So I tell people, be a sponge and just follow the lead. You gotta trust us to do what's right, because we can see what's happening on the back end. We're the ones having the conversations with the lenders on your behalf. We know certain things that you're never going to know, so.
Trust me, that normally happens in every like industry. Like people are like, oh, I'm like, okay.
Since you know more than me, go do your own mortgage.
Oh man, I love that. Those are great advices. And I know when you guys see the title, you're going to feel like, oh, where's the relationship? But I wanted to focus more on mortgages, obviously, because that is your expertise and all that stuff. Is there any other, like, I was going to say adventures.
I am. I'm not going to say anything, though.
Okay.
I can't say anything. I'm working on some projects that are quite large. And that's why I had to pull myself off social media. I don't have time for all that anymore. It's just my goals are so big. Some people look at me like I'm crazy. Actually, they do.
You're not crazy. I watch you still, and I'm always fascinated and everything. I'm like, and I'm inspired when I see your questions and your stories. I'm like, okay. But I do notice that I'd see you more on Facebook than I'd see you on Instagram. So I was like, oh, okay, I gotta switch back to Facebook to, you know.
Oh, you probably see my ads. You see my ads.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, you'll see my ads running. It's whatever.
Yeah. She's so nonchalant, guys. Trust me. And all that good stuff. And how can people get in contact with you?
So my website is mortgagesofcanada.ca.
And I'm going to be posting this in the details. So anyone looking for anything for mortgages, please give her a shout. Because her team will be able to help you.
But good news is I am the person that you do speak to initially. Most times. Most times yes, I have taken back that piece of my business. And the reason being is because I just feel like it's better if people talk to me directly, because I have all kinds of solutions in my head that an average employee or somebody else may not know just because of my years of experience. Now, eventually I will let that piece go, and I don't do any of the processing of the mortgage, because do you even know who the owner of McDonald's is? Like, why do you need to know who I am? Just get your mortgage. So you deal with my team and they close it. That's it. But you will deal with me initially. That aspect will be changing probably in the next couple months, because I won't have any more time once my other projects start coming.
So you have to get her quick. You have to get her quick. And I like when it's more, I find like when you get to speak to you, it's more personal. They are able to build like a nice relationship. So I'm glad that you're still doing that.
Well, I stopped for a long time.
But then you realize how you're like, no, I feel like I should go get back to it. Because you have so much knowledge. 23 years?
Well, almost 20. I'm at 19.
Like, geez, like 20 plus? I'm going to say 20 plus because it always makes it more interesting, right?
Better.
Oh man, so thank you, Samantha, because I know you're a busy lady.
Yes, I'm getting ready to go for dinner. I'm going just like this because I ain't got time to get ready.
Right, and it's dark. It's dark everywhere we are. So all that good stuff. But no, thank you. It's honestly, like I said at the beginning, it's an honor for you to be here. And thank you for giving me some of your time. And I appreciate you and all that great stuff. I need to stop saying all that good stuff. I know I'm working on it, folks. I'm working on it. Give me one moment, trying to look for the song for the outro. There it is.